Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLamey, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLamey, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. The all-new EntreArchitect Profit Course is here. A comprehensive 7-part self-directed online training program teaching financial management to busy architects. Is money getting in the way of you being the best architect you can be? Learn more and register today at EntreArchitect.com/profit course. My name is Mark R. LePage, and you are listening to EntreArchitect Podcast, where I speak with inspiring, passionate people who share their knowledge and expertise, all to help you build a better business as a small firm entrepreneur architect. This is episode 268, and this week I'm with architect Jennifer Kretschmer, and we're talking about how to thrive with a virtual office as a small firm architect. This episode of EntreArchitect Podcast is supported by our platform sponsors, ARCAT, the online resource delivering quality building material information, CAD details, BIM specifications, and so much more at arcat.com. Gusto. Gusto is refreshingly easy payroll, benefits, and HR for the modern small business like ours. And FreshBooks, the cloud-based accounting software that makes running your small firm easy, fast, and secure. Spend less time on accounting and more time doing the work you love. Jennifer Kretschmer, welcome back to EntreArchitect Podcast.
Great to be here, Mark.
It's good to have you back. Let me just remind people who you are. Jennifer founded the firm J. Kretschmer Architecture and Art in 2003. The firm specializes in small project delivery, primarily residential projects under 5,000 square feet and commercial projects under 10,000 square feet. So small projects, typically high end. Jennifer is licensed in California and a graduate of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, right? That's how you say that, right? I want to make sure I get that right because I know locals are a little picky on how you pronounce that. She's a member of the AIA, where she served at the local and state board of directors and is currently the chairperson of the AIA Silicon Valley CRAN group, which is the Custom Residential Architect Network, one of my favorite organizations inside or out of the AIA. CRAN is a great organization, so thank you for organizing that over at the AIA Silicon Valley. And if you hear her voice and it sounds familiar, it's probably because she was here not too long ago and we're talking about parental leave in architecture in a roundtable discussion back in episode 247. So if you're interested in that, go check out that episode. We'll put that on the show notes. And that's where I learned how she practices. She practices as a virtual office. So that's a topic that so many architects are discussing, sort of hoping to transition from that brick and mortar office back to a virtual office based online, using online tools and communication systems and all those good things that we have access to today. This is a pretty new phenomena, a new way of practicing. In the last 10 years or so, really, the tools on the internet have become usable. They're at the level that we can use them. And so I asked Jennifer to come back because she's practicing that way successfully, and I just wanted to have that conversation and share it with you. So, Jennifer, I shared a little bit about who you are and what you do. I'd love for you to sort of dive a little bit deeper and tell us your origin story. Go back to where you discovered architecture and what inspired you to become an architect, and share that story to where you find yourself today.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Thank you for that great introduction. My origin story begins pretty young, as a lot of architects do. I always worked and played with blocks and was an artist. I liked to paint. And I suddenly fell into kind of learning about architecture when my father decided to take an architecture modeling class at a local junior college for fun. He was actually building models for railroads.
Oh, that's cool.
Toy railroads.
Yep.
And I was so intrigued by what he was doing, I asked him to take me to his class. So I was about 12 years old, and I went to the college and watched him do this modeling class. And after that, I took drafting classes, and I was completely hooked. Discovered what are the best colleges and universities near me, and essentially Cal Poly was the only school I applied for because at the time it was number one, and it may still be number one. So that's sort of how I got started in architecture. When I decided to open my own firm, after working a number of years for several different architects, I had chosen to do that as a method of gaining more freedom and also being able to choose my own projects. And soon after I started my firm, I actually had my first child. So being able to have that flexibility of choosing the projects that I worked on, as well as, how many I worked on and the times that I worked on, was very beneficial in being a new mom. And shortly after that, I hired my first remote worker. So this was about 2005. This person was someone who had worked with me at another architecture firm, and he still works with me up to this day. And he also works for other architects and works remotely for the other architects as well. Last year, as the firm began to grow in revenue and more projects came in, instead of saying no, now that my children are older, I have more time, and I began taking on those projects as well as taking on more remote workers, including workers outside of the state of California. So I now have workers in other states as well. That's sort of where we're at today.
So 2005, you started remotely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a long time. I said 10 years the tools have been here, and that's longer than 10 years ago. And so you've been doing it a long time.
Yes, I've been doing it for a while. At that time, I actually was still renting an office. And at about, when the recession hit in 2008, I said, you know what, I'm not paying for an office anymore. I moved the studio, as I call it, into the back of my garage, very Silicon Valley style.
Yeah.
And I have been operating from the back of the garage since then. I have remodeled the garage, so so it's much nicer now, and I
is that the space that you're in now?
It is. I have a kitchen and a bathroom here, and if you look behind me, Mark, because you can see my video, you can see it does look like an architecture firm.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It looks like an architecture office. Yep, I would have never guessed that was your garage.
It is. I remodeled that in 2015 to get it to this point.
Yeah, that's exciting. So 2005, was the internet available? I know the internet was available in 2005, but yes. Were the tools? Was it a struggle? That's the question. Was it a struggle to sort of go remote and use the tools on the internet in 2005 to do what you need to do efficiently?
It wasn't as much of a struggle as you might think, and this is where I would tell. Even though the technology is what makes it incredibly useful today to be able to do remote working, even if you just have a telephone and a way of emailing files back and exactly. That's how we were doing it, with telephone and regular email.
Right.
Yeah. But it does take a certain kind of person to be able to do that. You do need to have very good verbal communication skills and need to be able to speak graphically about, speak verbally about graphic concepts. If you're not being able to use video conferencing. And you also need to have the reliability of people working that do not need to be supervised. They can work completely independently and have the skills to be able to do that. So when I brought on my first person, he'd been working in the field already for 20 years. And I met him basically when I was fresh out of college, as he was working remotely for another firm at that time. And we didn't even have email when he was working remotely for this other architect. But we were already in CAD. CAD was primary to making this happen. If you're still hand drafting, it's very difficult to share hand drafted files. But
right.
And I know there's some people out there still doing that.
Yeah. In order to have a remote firm, hand drafting, the United States Post Office would have to be involved in that, or UPS or FedEx, however you want to transfer them. But there's going to be a lot of lag between revisions.
Exactly. And also back then in 2005 or even earlier than that, it was important that the remote workers were at least able to drive to your office within, an hour or so. Otherwise, there would be times when you had to have face-to-face conversations. And therefore, remote workers out of the state or even much further out of the area would not have worked.
Yeah. So what does your team look like today?
I have a team of about 5 other people. Almost all of them are licensed architects, and they pick and choose the projects that they want that I have available. And they also pick and choose the number of hours they would like to work in any given month. So they basically control the time and the schedule and the projects that they want to work on. I just put up, we have a task management system. I use Podio, which is a Citrix product, but there's plenty of task management softwares out there. I put up on our Podio the projects that are available, and I list them as ready to assign, so that anyone knows if they're ready for another project, they can just go into our project list and see that it's ready to assign, and then read things like the scope of work, the scale of work, how many hours are anticipated. All of that is all just in one area available to them, no matter where they're located.
How do you manage, because that sounds very flexible, and which is probably very appealing to the people working with you, but how do you manage the deadlines for those projects and the schedule?
Yes. Everyone knows what the clients are expecting. What are the client's expectations as far as deadlines? And there are expectations that need to be met. They need to be able to work independently and make those deadlines. Otherwise, they know that I might not use them for another project or a project that has a deadline. So it really does fall upon the worker to be able to accomplish the tasks and the expectations. But, I can't necessarily, there are, when you first try a new worker out, there are unknowns as far as how well they're going to work or how fast they're going to work. So there is some lag time to get that relationship going and understanding how that new person works. So with a new person, I always start them on a very, very small project that doesn't have significant time constraints, so that we can see how we work together on that first project. And as a way of once we get that rolling, once we see how that person works, then I assign them, or I let them go choose other projects that are bigger. If someone picks a project that I don't think that they're going to be able to handle, we will have a discussion about that. So just like you would do this in any office as well.
Yeah, it sounds very much like a brick and mortar office. It's just that they're out working from their own studios and you're working from your studio. And because if you were in a big office with a bunch of drafting boards or workstations, and there's new projects come in, you would have this meeting and say, okay, who's going to be assigned this next project? And they would, you would either assign it or you would have a system of selection and you do the same thing. So
exactly.
How long does it take for you to bring on a new person?
The second person came on about 2014. Yes, it was exactly 2014. With the recession, and with the fact that I choose my own projects and had flexibility, I had dialed back a lot. Like I mentioned, I got rid of the paid office and only took on projects that were interesting to me. Otherwise, I spent a lot of time doing artwork and marketing my paintings, basically. And then once things began to pick up and I didn't feel like I was competing so much with a lot of my peers, that's when I brought on more people and better work was coming in, more work was coming in. So even though there was a recession, I was saying no a lot rather than saying yes. And that was actually a good time for me to learn to say no, because prior to the recession, I never said no on a project.
Right. So when you're selecting those projects, what are you looking for specific types of projects and specific types of people that sort of fit within your business model, or does not so matter so much?
Yes, for me, I would say people is number one. I have project types that we do focus on. We focus on residential, custom single-family residential, remodels, additions, new homes, rebuilds. There are significant jurisdictional requirements here in the Silicon Valley, maybe more than some other communities, where even a next-door neighbor can put an end to a project. So the reviews that are necessary are the projects that we focus on. We're very good at getting approvals in our local area through good design. So those are the types of projects that we pick, but I do start with the person first. If it's somebody that I feel that is not going to work out, they're going to be difficult, they're not going to be on board with the ideas of our design, they have unreasonable expectations about budget, those are no's.
Right. And those are sort of red flags that you need to look for, whether it's remote or, a standard brick and mortar office when you're picking your clients.
Absolutely.
Through experience and intuition, you learn to listen to your gut often and sort of look for those red flags. And when there are red flags, you sort of pick other projects.
Absolutely. And we can do that now. There's a lot of work in the Bay Area right now.
Yeah. And I think that do your clients know that you're working remotely? Do they know your model, or do they not know that?
Most of my clients don't ever see the remote model. They know that I have people working for me. They know that there are other people working on their projects, but they rarely know who they are, or especially if there's someone out of state, they're never going to see them. Yeah. If they're one of the people who are local to me, they might see them when they come out and help us if we're doing a remodel measure, and might meet them a couple times during some design meetings. I do a lot of the design myself, and that's why it's also important that you all remain on the same CAD package, because I have tried using multiple CAD packages, and it was too difficult to manage, for me at least, because I do still like to get my hands into the CAD and BIM and create the models. But I do have projects where, because I have someone who has proven to be talented and an exceptional worker, then they get to start designing.
So you're doing most of the design until you sort of feel comfortable that someone else can take over that role, and then they're basically doing production and the rest of it.
Absolutely, yes.
So are you doing all of the client face work, the one-on-one work with clients?
I do still do my client meetings one-on-one. All the projects are located here within 30 miles of my location, and the clients are also located that way. I have had requests for clients who live out of state or out of country, but have projects here, to do virtual conferencing, but we haven't actually gotten to that model yet. But I do think it's based on, again, the technology, and like we're having our conversation right now, it's very easy to do that. And I use that with my remote workers all the time. We have conversations just like you and I are having. We're able to use the technology to share our screens, so that we can talk about design issues or structural issues between what we're seeing on the drawings, at the same time looking at the drawing.
Yeah, I think at this point the tools are no longer the barrier to going remotely, to this virtual model. Where a few years ago that may have been a barrier, because they just the communication capabilities of having a consistent one-on-one video conference call without some sort of interruption where the technology fails. It very rarely fails today. And the collaboration tools that we have, where it's instant uploads and instant syncing, the technology is really no longer the barrier. I would say that the barrier to this model today is probably one of the same barriers as back in 2005 is communication. Is
Absolutely.
how do you set up that communication system, because it absolutely has to be a system, that you are consistently in touch with your team and the team is consistently in touch with you, that you know what they're doing, and there's lots of trust involved, because the trust is another important ingredient in a remote situation. So what is your schedule like? What does that communication system look like on your end to make sure that at the end of the day, the projects are at their highest level of quality and the communication, and the deadlines are there, and how do you communicate with your team?
Yeah, so I have regularly scheduled appointments with team members throughout the week. So usually I meet with or talk with them at least once a week. If they're doing a long production time where I'm not going to have anything from them for maybe 4 weeks, we'll probably talk at the halfway point. And so maybe we might have spread out to 2 weeks. But we do regularly schedule. Every time we meet, we make sure we set up a time for the next time we're going to talk and have a meeting about the project. So it's very important to be consistent with that. It's also very important to be available to the remote workers. If an issue comes up, you have to have a way set up for them to get a hold of you immediately, either through texting or email or immediately FaceTime you. But whatever it is something that's consistent that they know I can immediately text you, for example. I like to use texting for that. If it's an emergency, text me. Tell me that you need, and then we will determine through text whether we need to have a video conference or whether we can just chat back and forth on the phone. So being consistent with that. I think the other thing, too, that's really important in setting up a virtual office is that, and this whole remote working, is that the firm owner has to have a new mindset for the model of their company. When we talk about architecture firms, in our mind, we vision that location that is a firm. We have that firm office in our mind. The new mindset is that your firm isn't a place anymore. It's a group of people brought together to accomplish great projects. So it's the people now. The firm is the people, not the place. And as soon as you realize that it is the people that makes it come together, you will find ways to make that connection happen and those communications work, and in order to accomplish those great projects.
That is such an excellent distinction. It's so important, that distinction between a place and the people. That today with a remote studio, it's anywhere, right? It's all about the people coming together in some way, whether they're sitting in an office with you or whether they're sitting in their own offices and have that connection back to you through the internet. It's about the people that make up the office. And that's a very important mindset shift.
Exactly.
And because I think that people who are used to the physical office and who haven't experienced the virtual environment, they don't really understand how can you possibly replicate this on the internet through a computer. And it's not about replicating the office. You're not trying to replicate the office. You're trying to work and communicate with people and have people collaborate with you on completing these projects. And so it doesn't matter where they are doing that, as long as they have the communication tools and the systems to have that one-on-one conversation. I wanted to just
absolutely.
I also wanted to just add one other piece to the daily one-on-one communication. In addition to texting and emails or whatever we need to do, Slack is a great tool for that. That's what we use. We've actually replaced email and texting with Slack, because Slack will give you those same notifications that texting will. It records, gives you a record of all of your communication, so it's easy to search. It's a great tool for that. I actually use Slack for 5 different I have 5 different workspaces in Slack for different things I'm doing. One being the architecture studio, and it works really, really well. And there's a free version of it, and so it's it's a free tool.
Yeah, and there's a mobile app for it too. So, and that's the whole ability to use mobile tools, mobile phones, tablets. That's changed the environment completely, because I can be anywhere and be able to communicate with my team, be able to communicate with a client. Last week, my kids were on spring break. And in the middle of the week, I said, let's take the dog to Monterey. Kids and dogs, just enjoy our time at the beach. And while the kids were running around on the beach, the dog was running around on the beach, I got a few texts. I sat there leaning on the beach and answered some questions.
Yeah.
A client called me, talked to them on the phone. I got a drawing from one of my workers. I redlined it on the phone, emailed it back, and I was on the beach still enjoying the environment. The beach isn't the most practical place
right.
because
Yep.
of the sand,
Yep.
but I'm just saying that as soon as you have those tools in place, you will find yourself being able to work in other environments, and it won't feel like you're taking a break from your vacation to work, which sounds like a horrible thing. Oh my God, I'm taking a break from my wonderful vacation. No, it just happens, and you move on, and you still enjoy the environment that you're in.
Yeah, that work-life integration, it's not really a balance. It's that integration of your firm and your family, that this
Absolutely.
model allows you to do that at a very high level, and as high of a level as you want, which actually leads to some limits and some boundaries. How do you set limits for yourself on this model? Because you literally can be as flexible as you want. You could work from the beach every day if you wanted to. It would technically that would work, but it doesn't really work. And so, what are some limits that you've set for yourself to make sure that you're not working 24 hours a day and taking time away from your family, or allowing your family to sort of interrupt your work time? How do you keep these things separate and balanced?
You need to set your time boundaries, and you need to stick with them. That was a big problem for me when I first started my firm. I would come up with an idea after I'd gone to bed, and I'd get up and go to the computer at 3:00 in the morning. So early on as a firm owner, I set these boundaries. I set that my firm is open from 9 to 6. Clients can call me from 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. If they call me or try to contact me on the weekend, I determine whether it's an emergency or not. And if it's not an emergency, they don't hear from me until Monday. And I make those boundaries clear with the clients, as well as my workers. Since now I'm working with workers that are out of the area, I let them set their own boundaries. But as far as when we set discussions, we try to set them in a time frame that is between that 9 to 6 that works with their time zone. So that was a little difficult when I had somebody in Japan for a while, but he was perfectly okay with, I'll get up at 4 in the morning and we'll have a talk or something, which is like at the end of my day. But I set those boundaries, and you got to stick with them.
Yeah.
You got to stick with them. So it's again the mindset. My firm is not a place, but my firm does have office hours from 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, and that's it.
Yeah. That takes a lot of discipline to do that. You need to create those systems, which everything about this model is based on systems, whether it's communication systems or scheduling system. You have to have some sort of structure for this thing to hold on to. The physical office sometimes lends that structure to you because it's a physical office. It's, you're showing up at a certain hour and you're leaving in a certain hour. And so there's that, you walk out the door, and when you walk past that threshold, your day is over. And when there's no longer a building that sort of separates the work and the family time, you need to set those boundaries and create those thresholds for yourself. And so that takes some discipline. It absolutely takes expectation management for everybody involved, whether it's your team or your clients. They need to know what is expected, that 9 to 6 is when you can communicate with me. If you try to send me a text at 8 o'clock, you may not get a response from me until the next morning at 9 o'clock when you open the studio again. And so those limits and those boundaries are really important, and communicating those expectations is really, really important. We will be right back to our conversation after this quick break to say thank you to our friends, our platform sponsors here at EntreArchitect, ARCAT, Gusto, and FreshBooks. It's spring, it's finally spring, which means it's time for growth and renewal and adjustment. But we're not just talking about your failed New Year's resolutions, we're talking about building products. Manufacturers are removing and adjusting and adding products to their catalogs to meet the standards of an evolving industry. And that means your old CAD, your old BIM, and your old specifications may just need some updating. Well, luckily, ARCAT's got you covered. They work directly with manufacturers to get their newest information online, so you know you're getting the latest and the greatest building product information every time you go to ARCAT. And you know, the best part of this whole thing with ARCAT is that all the data is free for you to browse and download. You don't even have to register. You don't even have to give them your email address. So check out arcat.com. That's ARCAT.com, arcat.com, and tell them that EntreArchitect sent you the next time you need the latest building product information. Payroll and benefits are hard, especially when you're a small business like us. You don't have time to be an expert in things like taxes and regulations. And old school payroll providers, they're just not built for the way that we work today. Gusto is making payroll, benefits, and HR easy for small businesses like ours. Modern technology does the heavy lifting, so it's easy to get it right from the start. You no longer have to be a big company to get treated with great technology, great benefits, and great service for your team. To help support the show here at EntreArchitect, Gusto is offering our listeners an exclusive limited time deal. Sign up today and you'll get 3 months free once you run your first payroll. Just go to entrearchitect.com/gusto. That's entrearchitect.com/GUSTO and claim your free 3 months of payroll processing. FreshBooks makes it simple to send invoices, post your expenses automatically, track your time for your whole team, by project, and get organized with reports, communication, and notifications. Getting started with FreshBooks is ridiculously easy. Most people send their first invoice seconds after starting their free trial. The same goes for tracking time, managing expenses, collaborating with contractors, and viewing financial reports. It's fast and it's easy. And if you need help at any time, free award-winning customer service is a phone call or an email away. And if you ever have second thoughts, no worries. On top of our free trial for our EntreArchitect listeners, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you don't ever have to worry about choosing FreshBooks. So give FreshBooks a try today. It's free for 30 days. Just visit entrearchitect.com/FreshBooks and let them know that we sent you, EntreArchitect. Put that in the How Did You Hear About Us section. That's entrearchitect.com/FreshBooks to access your free, unlimited 30-day trial. ARCAT, Gusto, and FreshBooks. Please visit our platform sponsors today and thank them for supporting you, the EntreArchitect community. You know, I'm thinking about how you started back in 2005 working remotely, and you were saying how you were a young mom and you had these young kids. And how do you think that this model has led you to where you are today? Because you're a very successful architect today in working in Silicon Valley, doing custom residential work. Do you think that this model has lended itself to allowing you to get to the level in the profession that you have gotten to as a working mom? Do you think this model has contributed to it? Do you think you would be at the same level that you are today if you didn't have the ability to work the way that you wanted to work?
Mark, this is a great question. It is something I think about a lot, especially with the context of the missing 32%, which is the concept that 32% of women who have graduated from architecture school have now left the profession.
Right.
And why have they left the profession? I think when I started my firm, or when I put the idea of my firm, going, I wasn't even thinking about children at the time. But as I, I became pregnant while I was studying for my California supplemental exam. So technically the firm didn't open till my son was 3 months old. And I don't think that I would have been able to be as successful as a mom and as successful as an architect if I wasn't able to make my own schedule and choose my own projects. It is difficult to start a firm. There's a whole nother layer of business practice that I love business and I love business practice. I've always been interested in that. So it does take a person who likes business to actually start your own firm. And we've discussed this before on your podcast. But I don't think I would have been as successful had I not been able to make my own projects and make my own schedule. Because being a parent and being there for my children is actually my number one priority. And then comes architecture. And unfortunately, a lot of firms' models, and I have been in interviews when I was just fresh out of school, where I said I have a life outside of architecture, and the principal actually said to me, then you wouldn't work in this firm because we only want dedicated architects. That is a mindset that should not even exist anymore in this day and age. It's not just, like you said, work-life balance, and this is true for dads too. I mean, to be completely frank and honest with you, my husband is no longer working anymore. My firm has gotten to a level where he felt comfortable that he was not enjoying his work. He was not enjoying the day-to-day grind. And he said, you're making enough money. Are you okay if I stay home and take care of the kids and you push your business further? And I said, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And so actually now, and that's actually when we remodeled this garage. So it looks like a real firm, because I do have clients come here. I do have another place where I take clients too, and we can talk about that in a minute. But this subject of being able to have not just a work-life balance, but work-life integration is very important and very key to my philosophy.
Yeah, and we dove very deep on that last episode on that topic of parental leave and parents working in firms and what firms can do to improve that environment. And I think you agree, Jennifer, that this model, this virtual model, is the future of architecture. And I'll let you decide whether you agree on that with that or not. But I think that this model is the future. I think that new firms that are starting up from young architects, they will use this model intuitively, and it'll be just the way they do it because they're using these tools already. It just makes sense to do this. But many brick and mortar studios will also be shifting to this model because of the expense savings that you end up. When we moved from our brick and mortar studio to a remote model, we saved $5,000 a month. And so it was a significant saving. It was like having a $5,000 a month raise for the business. $5,000 more on the bottom line because it just cuts out $5,000 worth of expenses. And so that's part of the future. And then I think large firms are also going to have to shift to this model because the workforce is going to demand it. That the way our society is shifting because of the access to these tools, as the younger generations come up through the profession, they're going to expect to have that flexibility and to be able to work where they want and when they want. And if the large firms don't flex and accommodate that, those large firms are going to go away because those younger generations are going to come up and take over. And so what are your thoughts on how the model affects the profession overall?
Yes, I think this is true of, like you said, of our entire culture, that it's not just architecture. It's everybody is moving towards remote working, and maybe architecture is like the biggest resistor, because
which is traditional in architecture.
Tradition. There's this graphic thing that you feel like when you're at a drawing, you all have to huddle around the drawing, and so I do think we're kind of behind the times, but it is the future. Remote working is absolutely the future. We need to be able to be more versatile in that way. If you feel like you really need to have that whole office look or that office environment, one of the things that I do when I don't feel comfortable having a client come to my home or this studio, especially since, to be honest, the studio isn't 100% ADA compliant. I mean, I put in this screen and I put the lip up too high, and now I can't get a wheelchair in that door. So I actually belong to a co-working space. Mm-hmm. A co-working space is, monitored or owned by some other entity, some other group, and you get a membership to come to this place and be able to work. And the space has desks. It has an open area. It has a kitchen. It has, nice restrooms. It has conference rooms. The conference rooms are the best part for me. I can schedule online anytime I want to set up a reserve for a conference room, and have a client meet me there, or have my team meet me there if we want to have a face-to-face meeting. It has the ability to do video conferencing. It has the higher end system, has a giant screen. Everything's all available to me, and it looks very professional. It even has a concierge. So when someone comes to the door, they answer the door and said, "Oh, are you here to see Jennifer? Would you like a cup of coffee?" Right? And that concierge receptionist gives you that whole environment. So if you feel like you need that place, that's a really affordable way to go. And then you only utilize that when you need it. And so I highly recommend, if you can't envision yourself having clients come to your place, I had them come to my dining room at one time because the garage was so overloaded with drawings. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, a co-working space is a great way to go.
Yeah, that's a great piece of the model. That because that's actually even better than a dedicated office because of all of those perks that come along with it. That when the client shows up, they feel really important because they're the people who are running that co-working space are trained to make those people feel that way, and which is something that you probably wouldn't have at your own architecture studio. Your own brick and mortar office, you wouldn't have that. And so that, you have coffee ready, you have a nice desk, and you have a nice conference room. It's a great piece to the model. And not even something that really needs to be an option or as a substitute for something else. It's a great piece to add to the model because it actually is even better than having a brick and mortar space and less expensive.
Yeah. Absolutely. There are some days when I feel like there's too many distractions going on in my home. I just take my laptop and head over to the co-working space. I get so much work done because nobody bothers me there.
Right. Yeah. It's such a great idea. I'm going to wrap up with one last question. Actually, before the final question that I ask everybody, I have one more question about your model. Is about the scalability. The way you've specifically set up your firm with your remote team, and they're all practicing architects. They know what they're doing. They pick their own projects. You have your system set up on Podio. That sounds very scalable. Like you could get as big as you want with that model because all you do is bring on more qualified remote workers and add them to the Podio team. And as long as you can manage those people and the one-on-one client contact work, you can build a pretty large firm with the model that you've set up.
Yes, I agree. I do think you can do that. And the key is whether you can manage the people. I feel like maybe 3 more people will be my own personal limit, in which case then I have to decide how am I going to tier that. Am I going to now start using some of the people who are local to me and have been with me for a long time and give them more responsibilities to manage remote workers? But if you have whatever, again, it's back to systems, right? If you can work out your model and just like any other business plan, if you have your chart, your flow chart of who's at the top, your hierarchy chart, right? And positions, who's what positions. A lot of firms around here like to do the studio model. They have the residential studio, and there's 3 architects in the residential studio, and they have 2 managers below them. If you can take that model and make it work within the technology that you have, you could do an entire office remotely, and it really doesn't matter the size. It's all back to the people.
It all comes back to the people. Yeah. I mean, there are companies, I don't know architecture firms that are that big, but there are tech companies that are all virtual. I mean, WordPress, the company that runs WordPress, Automatic, is a virtual, 100% virtual corporation. And they have hundreds, maybe even thousands of employees, and none of them have it. There's no physical, headquarters other than some administrative stuff, and so it can be 100% virtual. So it's fascinating to me. And Jennifer, I think you and I can have this conversation for hours because we can get into every little nook and cranny, and I can tell that you're as passionate about it as I am. But we're up against our time here. And so I want to ask you our final question. And I'd love to have you come back and continue talking business, because I love talking business. And so anytime you want to come back, you're welcome. Before we wrap up, what's one thing that a small firm architect can do today to build a better business for tomorrow?
I have heard so many great answers to this question on the show. So I'm going to focus along the line of our discussion today. I think that if your firm has yet to explore remote working, you need to begin to use and test out the new technology, both with software and hardware, within your current office structure. And as you feel confident with using the technology, then you can begin sending out your remote workers and transition to a virtual office and be able to get rid of that rent.
That's exactly right. It's about taking baby steps, because I think the thing that will keep people from moving to this model, much like everything that we do in order to get to where we want to go, is fear. There's the fear factor of committing to this model. To leave my office space in Pleasantville, New York, and move into a home office and send my workers off to their own space, it was scary. It's like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know how my clients are going to feel about this. And so you have to get past that fear. And the best way to progress and to get past fear at any level for anything is to take baby steps. So to take take one technology and try it on for size, hire one remote worker to do one small project, see how it goes. And if it works, then grow it, make it a little bit bigger, and take another step and another step and another step. And eventually you'll have a firm like Jennifer's that is fully remote, doing the work that she wants to do, when she wants to do it, living the life she wants to live. And so thank you for sharing that lesson, but also thank you for sharing your knowledge here today at EntreArchitect Podcast.
You're welcome. It's been a great pleasure.
It's been a lot of fun.
So you are listening to episode 268. So that's the link to share if you want to share this with a friend. I think this is a great episode if you're considering a virtual office, or you have a friend who might be considering a virtual office. I think virtual offices and virtual studios, I think this virtual environment for creatives and architects like us, it's the future. I really do. I think that as new firms are starting, they're going to start as virtual offices. So you may be on the verge of a virtual office. And so this is the episode that you want to reference again and again. And so this is episode 268, EntreArchitect.com/episode 268. So share it in your favorites and then go share it with a friend, EntreArchitect.com/episode 268. And go check out the EntreArchitect Profit Course, a brand new, all new profit course it's built for busy architects like you. If you're struggling with anything in your business, whether you're struggling with marketing or sales or building a team or time, all of it is, I would say, is probably because you're not making enough profit. You haven't built a financial management system that works for your firm. And if you do that, that lays the foundation for everything else to be built upon it. And so once you have your money in order and you understand how the money comes into your firm and how your money leaves your firm, and how to plan for profit, everything else changes. Everything else gets easier. Everything starts to run smoother. And so therefore you can start being the architect that you want it to be. And so we've built a course that helps you do that. It's based on the P2P financial management system developed by Steve Wintner, the author of Financial Management for Design Professionals. He has collaborated with EntreArchitect to develop this course. It's based on the information that we taught in the workshop not long ago. But the workshop was a 5-week program where you had to show up at a specific time and a specific day. We've taken all of that content, we've pre-recorded it for you for your convenience to be able to learn that same content and even more content, because it's the complete P2P system. It's all there for you, waiting for you to be able to schedule it on your time to watch these videos. The videos are relatively short. They range from like 5 minutes to 30 minutes, but most of them are in that 12 to 15 minute range. So this is something you can do every day at lunchtime. Watch a video, do a little bit of the homework, and get the entire course done in 2 weeks on your time. So maybe before you go to bed, maybe when you first wake up in the morning, maybe at lunchtime. That's why we built this course. You can go check it out right now at EntreArchitect.com/profit course, EntreArchitect.com/profit course. It will give you everything you need to build a financial management system for your small firm. And if you are an entrepreneur architect who runs or owns your own small firm, then you, my friend, are an EntreArchitect. And I encourage you to build a better business so you can be a better architect. Love, learn, share what you know. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark Arlepage, founder of EntreArchitect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.